Hey everybody, welcome to News by Muse. We are back. Road to CES always starts for us here in August, and we are looking forward to Vegas. And we got the CEO of Viral Nation, Joe Gagliese. Joe, you just released a new platform called Viral Nation Secure Impersonation. What is it about this platform? Please tell us how everything got started and why you released it at this time.
Yeah, well, listen, Viral Nation's been on a mission for the last few years to develop technologies that enable brands to continue to invest in the creator world. Obviously, over the last 12 to 24 months, we've seen, a big surge in news and mainstream media talking about some of the dangers of social media that are there, right? And when you have something that is so powerful, it's not unusual or unlikely for that to be as equally as powerful in a negative way. So, Viral Nation started with the mission of, how do we really assist brands in feeling comfortable with working with creators and understanding kind of the background and the foreground of how those creators behave and making sure that it relates and correlates perfectly to their brand. And through that journey, we've started to really learn that impersonation on social media is a very critical and very serious issue. It doesn't get nearly as much attention as some of the other things on social media get. But we've been seeing such a huge uprise in fake accounts and folks pretending to be people they're not, and et cetera. And the ramifications of those things is really serious, right? Whether that be, you're a large multinational corporation who has, Instagram pages being developed around your brand that are now doing phishing schemes to, go after your customers, or you're an executive of a large organization and people are posing to be you online to again extract different types of value for themselves out of unassuming individuals. And even creators, right? We've seen over the last 10 years so many instances where creators have these accounts made. Let's say I'm Joe at Joe on Instagram. All of a sudden tomorrow there's an at Joe 2 on Instagram, and they've posted all of my content and et cetera. And now, they're representing to be me to my audience and getting them to buy things or tricking them into things and et cetera. Social media is a very interesting place, but the reality is there's only one individual. So our incredible team, led by our CTO and the other founder, Matthew, spent a lot of time with that challenge. And what we did was we used our social listening capabilities and our really, really strong kind of generative AI abilities and kind of paired the two. And what they do is they utilize social listening to go out there kind of on a daily basis for large brands, organizations, and people and look for accounts that are representing them who should be, looking for new accounts that are being created on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that aren't the authentic ones themselves. And basically what we're doing is we're pulling that information down, we're validating it, and then we're autonomously sending it to the platforms to help them get it taken down. So what we're really offering to customers today with this new platform is the ability to keep them safe from that environment, and allow them to kind of rest assured that people aren't acting on behalf of themselves or their brands to get their people, which are generally people who care about them, who are loyal customers, et cetera, to be found themselves in really unfortunate situations. And I can speak from experience. Just recently, Viral Nation, at the beginning of the year, believe it or not, there was a company that created its own social medias in South America, and was representing to be Viral Nation, and unfortunately had a couple companies sign up to do campaigns with them. We didn't even know they existed, right? And now, you feel this kind of gut wrenching. You feel bad for the client because they love Viral Nation and wanted to be a part of what we do, and unfortunately, a bad actor with good skills on LinkedIn and social was able to trap them into an unfortunate situation. So it's a real problem. And something that we believe this tool will address, and help the most forward-thinking folks kind of protect that from happening to them.
Yeah, and I think that's a tool like that is so needed right now. We've seen it with individuals who just have Instagram accounts, having accounts created after their name as well, that don't even have that big of a following with in the social media space, getting that as well, which is which, if they with their jobs, can lead back into some really bad situations for them as well. So your technology is definitely something that's needed at this time. When you're seeing these bad actors coming in and doing this? Are you seeing it more from out of the country or inside the United States? Or it's pretty much happening no matter where you go, no matter where you are in the world. This is happening, and from your data, is it something that are you seeing it curb or is it growing even more now?
Yeah, well, there's a large spectrum, right? And that's what makes this even more difficult, right? So you have the crazy end of the spectrum, which you touched on, which is foreign interference, right? So, we've done a lot of research, and you'd be shocked at how other countries who are, at odds with the United States and Canada, or part of geopolitical issues, such as Russia and other countries. It's very easy for them to set up these social media accounts, pretend to be these folks, and create tension within our ecosystems today. So that's like the most extreme example of kind of like foreign interference, right? And we've been in tons of conversations with our tools with, US government, Canadian government, et cetera. So that's like the highest end of the spectrum. Up there on the highest end of the spectrum as well is criminal intent. So what's interesting is, whether it be fraud, and frauding folks into giving their money to someone, which is the light version, but also we've seen instances of our nation where folks have pretended to be influencers to lure people to go places and end up robbing them, or other things happen. So, social media in that extent can lead to criminal activity, can lead to real damages within someone's personal life. And then on the far end of the spectrum, right, is the folks who have no bad intent, right? They've set up this channel because they love this specific creator, right? And it's the Joe fan account, right? And they're posting about, what Joe does in influencer marketing, and et cetera. The only issue there is that, although the intent is strong and comes from a good place, there's still that possibility that someone could misconstrue that for the real thing. And, I think in a lot of scenarios, folks aren't able to, especially people new to social, aren't able to make that that distinguishment between those two things, right? Like I've had people at Viral Nation come to me and be like, "Oh my God, Drake followed me on Instagram," but it's just a large fan page that is all things Drake, right? So, regardless of what end of the spectrum, from the most severe all the way to the most menial, it's brand identity, and it's identity theft in a digital way. Just like, if me and you left our wallet somewhere and someone took our ID and tried to get a loan, right? This type of behavior has been prevalent through most of modern time. Just social media makes it so damn easy to do it, and so accessible, that a solution like this needed to happen. And I just want to call out that, the social platforms are all over this. It's not like, Viral Nation's trying to create something that Meta didn't do or Twitter didn't think about. It's the magnitude. Right. It's the magnitude. And, I read an article that said something like Twitter removes a couple 100,000 accounts an hour. So I know the platforms are all over it, but when you have billions of consumers utilizing these products, it's almost unfair to rely completely on the platforms to moderate everything, right? Because then you get into, my name's Joe too, or I started this account and I had great intent. Like, so they have a very hard time. So what we were really trying to do was, here's a solution that we can work with in partnership with the platforms to help them around some of their high value people, high value organizations, and folks who can really do some serious damage if those identities are taken or used the wrong way.
Yeah, and you've implemented artificial intelligence into the software, into the program. How was it to interview, and the purpose of placing artificial intelligence into this program in order to, is it a machine learning base that it picks up on things and keeps learning, or how are you using artificial intelligence?
Well, so we wanted to go a step beyond the obvious, right? So let's say, for instance, it's Coca-Cola, right? And someone creates a Coca-Cola Rocks Instagram page. Great. We can grab that through social listening and through the posts, and they'll hashtags and the mentions, and we can use social listening. But the issue becomes when it's obscure, right? So when someone's posting about or representing their something and maybe the handle doesn't match, or if there's differences in spelling or articulation. So basically, what we're using the generative AI to do is to really kind of go a little bit deeper on the social listening side to say, okay, this might not appear to be a blatant copy of an account or someone misrepresenting, but the content really seems like it is. Or, we want to look at different hashtags around a specific brand or that the customers use and start to get smarter about how we orient those things to be able to go a step deeper. Sometimes with social media technologies, it's very limiting. And sometimes you're only as good as what you can see. So we've been using generative AI tools to learn more, to get deeper, to understand if we can see trends or spot things that maybe be harder for someone with the basic information to do. So we're really using it as an additive to enhancing what the product's able to do, but not fully reliant on it as a standalone or kind of the hype around generative AI. We're thinking about AI of how we can make what we're doing stronger. How can we get more accurate? How can we spot things that maybe someone else would miss or a competitor would miss? So these are the things that we're using it for. It's not the flashy, crazy generative AI stuff you see on CNN, but it's, our team's really looking at ways of harnessing AI to make what we do better, not to recreate what we do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's why when people think about AI, they automatically think about everything that's been in the news about.
Right.
And being a tech guy, I'm just like sitting back going, yeah, we still a long way away from that. Voice recognition is a lot easier, but facial, different story. And this is where AI really helps, is where allowing the apps to learn and be able to find us for security purposes.
And it's all about enhancement, right? Like the world can't change on a dime.
Yeah.
It's not set up to do that, right? But I've been noticing little stuff like Google, for instance. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'll be searching a specific topic. So let's say I looked up winter tires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll type in best and it'll say winter tires.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm seeing some of the different things emerging, but it's additive, right? It's like, how do you make experiences better? How do you make text more reliable? How do you take what would have taken us 5 years to learn and make it 3?
Yeah.
And that's really how we're thinking about that integration.
Exactly. Like we've got Google's test on their AI. We got ChatGPT's been playing with both of them, and it's funny when you put in code, you say, "Oh, can you please write me this line of code?" You still got to go back in there.
Of course.
And I think that's where the misunderstanding is the fact that you can have it write a paper or write code for you to help you finish things, but you do got to go back in and fix it because it's not to where the level people think it is at this time.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example to end that part of the conversation, which is internet was released so long ago, yet some websites still break.
Yeah.
Right. So like, new technologies, very similar to how the internet came in and changed a number of things. The internet was really crappy if you look at it in hindsight, right? At that time when we were having the dial-up going and I was on MSN and I thought that was the cat's meow, right? So I think that AI is very much in that stage. And now what's happened is the allure and the attention mixed with the pure capability of that innovation now has a lot of entrepreneurs like me around the world going, how do I make it better? How do I enhance it? How do I create something meaningful from it? And so the entrepreneurial journey begins around a really new innovation, and it'll just continue to grow over time.
Exactly. And leads into my next question about Viral Nation, is the fact that you have such a great stable of talent, a part of Viral Nation, from your employees to the people you manage on the social media stream, to the point where I've literally told people at a convention just recently, a Halloween convention, that we're talking with Joe from Viral Nation. They go, "Oh, they're such a reputable company. Like your talent we know we're safe with watching their talent because they're great people." We're seeing now a growth in when it comes to influencer marketing or influencers, where people are just coming out saying they're influencers with really nothing behind them.
Right.
And we see it a lot in Hollywood. We see it a lot in the theme park industry. What is with this ever-changing world of social media marketing and influencer marketing, what have you been seeing in the changes with this? And does that software for Viral Nation security would help in these companies to be able to determine, like, oh, this is somebody we really need to work with in comparison to somebody who just bought a bunch of followers and called themselves an influencer?
Yeah, so believe it or not, we solved that challenge, and the same solution remains since 2017, believe it or not. So the fake audience stuff and the validity of creators and all that stuff has been something we've had in our back pocket for a very long time. Now, not to be confused, sometimes what happens is those folks create a unrealistic view of what a creator means, right? So when we're thinking about creators, and this is an old school answer, has nothing to do with technology, but when we're thinking about creators, work ethic is a major part of our decision process, right? So you can tell if a creator is a creator, or if a creator is serious about what they do based on the amount of work that they put out to the world, right? So we like to watch people, it's one thing to buy followers, it's one thing to post a picture here and there, it's one thing to do that. But I think where you can really tell the difference between a creator and someone who's posing to be one is in the work product, right? It's watching them do their craft, and it's watching them can be consistent. It's watching them engage with the audience. So we base a lot of it off that human side of just watching and just making sure that the folks the professionals that we're hiring are truly professional at what they do. But that being said, I have a very fundamental belief that, in the next, call it 5 years, most average individuals will consider themselves a creator, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's about establishing what that means, right? So I think some of the people you're talking about are looking at social as a way to circumvent the work necessary to get the end result. So if I have a 250,000 person audience on Instagram, I'm more likely to get that audition for that next movie, right? Or you have folks who are saying, if I have 500,000 followers on Instagram, regardless if they're real or not, I get some inherent advantage. I'm going to make money, right? But that's a really skewed view of the community, because if you remove those folks, which by the way exists in everything, including the Tour de France and everything in between, right? If you remove those folks, being confident with developing your personal brand and being not focused on what's to come of it fiscally, but how important it is for your development is what we really see emerging. So what we're thinking is young people are going to start to realize that developing their social brand becomes very important, whether it be in sport, whether that be in their post-academic careers, whether that be in the military, whether that be in politics, right? So I believe that humans in especially North America are really going to start honing in that skill and developing their personal brands in a way that enables them to be able to take advantage of that in some way. Whether down the line that means they get a discount on products if they share their experience of the product they just bought, right? That could be something. If it's, getting them the ability to democratize opinion and be a voice in whatever conversation is happening, people are inherently going to start becoming creators, but not to become Mr. Beast, but to really take advantage of an opportunity to express themselves. So I fear lumping those people in with the bad actor group, because we're pushing people to say it's fundamental, if you're a college student, if you're a young person, to understand how do you take advantage of this opportunity, but not because I need it to get this, but because it's important on its own. And I think if you can set that framework of thinking and remove the crap out of the space, it's the biggest opportunity in the world for any individual, is to really invest in that personal brand development. And I just want to call out that I say all people in North America. There are a number of people, a large percentage of Americans and Canadians, who will never be on social media. And I respect and admire those people greatly. And there's so many different areas and pockets of the economy where that is not a necessity whatsoever. When I say what I'm saying, I mean where it's applicable. Right. Someone who is, working in a mine and busting their butt and et cetera, might not find value in that from a personal brand perspective, but might do it around a hobby. Right. And maybe wants to become the next expert of automotive car cleaning. Right. So there's opportunity for everyone. They just need to want it for the right reason.
Right, exactly. Especially since it's still a new frontier, even though this social media has been around for already 20 plus years, with starting from Friendster, MySpace, all the way up to Instagram, TikTok, and everything else that we got now. And we're still learning and still building into this knowledge of what social media is. And we're seeing a lot of growth, a lot of growth. One thing I want to bring in back to the app, because I think what you just mentioned, I think a lot of that, what you got with the viral nation security uh, impersonator, what it does is just something that's different, and it really does help with the other with the companies as well in the back end. If people want to use your technology, how would they go about using that platform?
So right now, as it sits, it's an enterprise grade platform inside of our nation, which means it's generally on the rollout being used for large organizations, large corporations. Viral Nation has a lot of really incredible things on the roadmap to diversify these tools into individual use products. So right now we're going to be working on, for instance, the product we're talking about with impersonation is going to be starting to be installed in the talent company with over 1,000 of our creators, to really show the value and test the systems and clear the pipes and figure out what the best mechanism for an individual is to utilize that service. So it's definitely on our roadmap to broaden the horizon of who can use it and why. You just have to remember that when you develop these types of intense technologies at this scale, you need to be able to commercialize them in a big way pretty quickly, or else you could run into issues from a growth perspective. So Viral Nation services over 100 brands around the world. So when we create something new or something special, our gut instinct is to bring it to our customers, right? And allow them to kind of reap the rewards of the innovation first because they're our partners. And then once we validate and really can test out and ironclad the systems with our team and our customers, then we develop kind of what we call product roadmaps to discuss as internally, like how do we get it to that point where it's like an Equifax where someone could sign up for it themselves. So it's a process, but what's interesting too about running the process the way we're running it is the big organizations give the machine a ton of data, right? They give them so much data, which makes the machine bigger, faster, stronger. And then when we roll it out to the communities, or we roll it out to the creator community, or we roll it out to the general community, it'll be that much stronger. So this is kind of how we roll our tech releases out is generally through our big enterprise customers first, and then we roadmap how we get them to the different addressable markets over a period of time.
Yeah. Well, Joe, thank you so much for stopping with us. I really appreciate it. I am such a fan of what you've ever since I first met you.
Oh, thank you. That
Yeah,
means a
I've
lot.
loved this company in ways that I never thought I could
Oh,
love a
thank you so
company.
much. Thank
Because
you.
I mean, I respect the fact of the work ethic and what you do and your talent. I had never, being somebody who didn't grow up in that social media time. Well, shoot, I was in the Friendster area. Shows you the age, but it's like I see your talent, and I'm like, I'm so impressed with the
Oh, thank you so
talent you
much.
bring on, your technology, and what you're doing. I'm to the point now when it becomes a stock on the U.S. stock exchange, I'm ready to buy. That's how much I believe in your company.
Thank you so much, man. And listen, the secret to all of it is, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, we're good people trying to do big things and work our butts off. And we try our best every single day not to hurt anyone in the process of doing it. And I think, although sometimes that could be hard or you can get taken advantage of or things might not move as quickly as you'd like them to, it's the integrity of that team and the people you're talking about that make it happen ultimately in the end. So if you have to be a little bit more patient and play the long game with the right attitude and mentality, that's what you're seeing in the market is just a bunch of people here that are busting their butt to do as much as they can and accomplish as much as they can for the people they promised they would. And that's our whole thing. And we sometimes go into meetings where it's like, June wasn't as great of a month as it should have been, and we got to do better in July. And I said, guys, listen, is everyone doing literally everything in their humanly power right now? Yes. Then I'm happy. We did a kick-ass June. Let's keep going, right? So yeah, we're really just built on hard work and getting it done and just keeping our promises.
Exactly, Joe. Thank you so much once again. I can never
Thank you for having me.
always you're always welcome here on News by Muse, and if any
Thank
new
you.
technology, anything that you have. So thank you so
Awesome.
much, and we'll
Thank
see
you
you
too.
next time here on News by Muse.
Thank you.